Hi, I wanted to introduce you to some new sites that'll help you with some different mapping activities in your classroom. The first one is Google My Maps, and here's the link. So if you're following along on the slide deck, you can just click on this link. What it does is it's basically a place where you can drop some pins, so you can use it as a collaborative group activity or as a whole class, and you can drop pins to save, and they can add info to the pin, such as a title, a description. You can even add photos or screenshots if they're using their iPad, various links to different things, external sites. You can change the icon of the pin so it can look differently than just that normal red pin that you see. It can be a shape or an icon of some sort. You can draw lines or shapes, and I'll demonstrate that in a minute. There's also a really cool measurement tool, which I'll get into. Also, there's layering, which is good for groups, and there's obviously lots of possibilities for collaboration. So I'm going to show you this site here in just a second. If you could click on this link here, this is my shared link to this actual training site. So I want you to do these three things for me. I want you to pin your favorite vacation spot, or maybe one that you would like to visit someday. Include your name as the title of the pin, and then a short little bio in there. It can be a sentence just to say why you would like to visit there. So I'll give you a second to pause the video to do that. Okay, so I just pinned mine for now in Chicago just because I have a couple of things I want to show you guys. So I just come up here to this little pin, and I chose the spot that I wanted to pin just by putting my crosshair there at the location. And once I do that, it's going to tell me I can add a photo right there, and the kids can do this on their iPads as well. I can also either just put a name or just the description, and so I have both right now. I can add in a description as well. So once I save that, I'm not going to save that one. I already have one here. Once I save that, I can come here. I can delete it if I need to. I've got a couple here. I can change the style or edit it. So if I come in here, I can change the color of the pen. Maybe if I'm doing group work, I want everybody to use orange that's in that group. I want everyone to use green that's in another group. Other thing you can do is you come down here, you can use different icons. If I go to more icons, I can see different headers up here of different topics. I can just scroll through if I'd like. So maybe I just want it to be just a normal one, maybe a heart, and then I hit OK. So now I have my little spot there. If I want to go ahead and use some of these other tools, I've got this measurement tool. So maybe I want to see how far it is from my house. So now this is where math can play a good factor in using this. Is the students can kind of say, okay, well, the bird flies, it's roughly from Ludington. And if I zoom in there, I probably could see it a little bit better. So to go off the mapping or the measurement tool, you have to click on it again. So if I zoom in, I could have students just measure how far it is from your location as the bird flies. So 157 miles. Now, how does that differ when you take the roads? And so as I click, I can say I'm taking 90 up through, and then maybe hop on 94 or however I want to take that. And they could map out the distance of the actual road travel. So that could be an activity they could be doing. So see how different this is here, 237 miles. So then they would click off of that. So that would be maybe something you could do. Another tool up here is this drawing tool that I mentioned earlier. And if I zoom out, one way this could be useful is to kind of, measure a location. Maybe it's a body of water, a lake. Maybe it's just to talk about how you're modeling map distortion and how it's different. So I'm going to add a line or shape, and I'm going to actually just go around the state of Michigan quickly. So obviously I'm not going to do it where it's super accurate, but fairly close to resembling what the state of Michigan looks like here. Come back down and across. Okay, so now with that, I can actually zoom my map out, and there's my image. So this is a good opportunity as a teacher to explain how map distortion looks. So if you remember obviously Greenland and how it looks bigger, just because of the way a map looks. So if I were to drag this, notice Michigan is bigger, and now you can actually do a comparison of how large Michigan is in relation to Greenland. And same thing with Iceland. And if you go closer to the equator, you can see what also happens. So students might get into that. They can also see the comparison between states and the size, so they can kind of get an idea of how big Michigan is compared to other states or other countries even. So that's how to do that. So again, with layers, that's over here. I can add a layer. So I can rename this layer and call it a different class. If I want to add a layer, I come here, and it's going to save what I've done so far. So maybe, again, all the layers, I want them to be different colors. So now I can add in the other layers as well. So that would be like another place. So I would come back up here, and I'd hit my pen. And so now I'm adding to this layer. So I would add 0.1, and then I'd hit save, and then I would change the color. I want everybody there to be red. And now I can see what each group member is doing. So maybe the title is going to be the name of the student or the name of the group. So that's a good way to kind of keep track of who is doing what in the group as well. So that is Google My Maps. So I'm going to quickly go back to my slide deck here. So how are some of the ways that you could use Google My Maps? You could have them track historical events or different landmarks. You can tie it in with literature and maybe a setting of a novel or a movie in comparison. Calculate rate of travel, culture projects, landforms, map projections. So that would be the activity. I linked it there that I just showed you with comparing different sizes of countries and states, so on. Weather and climate, you could do an activity with that. There's different math problems that you could do, rate, that type of thing. We've got maybe a dream vacation activity where they could talk about where they want to go, and then they could add photos and that sort of thing. You could transform a field trip. You could do an author study or autobiography, and maybe even a language study. So there's lots of different ideas, and there's lots and lots of stuff out there that you can find available. So the other tool, and I know most of you have heard of it, but it is Google Earth, and they've obviously changed it recently, so you don't have to download anything. So now it's available right in your browser. Kids can use it still in the app, but there's a few changes, so I just wanted to make some mention. So this is where you can do the Google Street View. Also the 3D view, and if you hold down Shift while you're clicking, you can actually do more of a helicopter view, which is pretty cool. So there's a few different things. So there's the knowledge cards. I'm going to show you all of this, but I'm going to go through the slides really quick. The cards give you information that you might not know about a place. So if you click on a state, for instance, or a city and a state, it has a knowledge card that'll come up, and it'll give you a brief little snippet about that city or place. Randomizer is pretty cool. So it'll like randomly show you a place that you may not have searched for otherwise. And that could be a really cool thing for elementary students to kind of do as like an early finisher idea or extra credit opportunity where they can do a little report out of where it took them and then write something that they learned about the location. Voyager is a collection of interactive stories. So I'll show you this as well in a second. You can create stories. It'll create stories for you, based on your recent search location. So if you've searched out Lansing, Michigan, it'll create a story based on that. And it's really easy to look for one of these as a teacher that you're interested in, and then share this link with the students in Canvas or another place of your choice. So some different ideas I've linked here, a few at the bottom. There's some math, social studies, and English ideas. But you could do scavenger hunts. You could do a writing prompt with it, where maybe you bring up the place and then you say, all right, I'd like you to write about this area. What happened here? Give me a plot, that type of thing. You could use it to explore communities, and you can do a lot of the same activities that I posted for the My Maps idea as well. So this is Google Earth on the iPad. So the first thing that you could have students do is search for a location. So I'm just going to go to one of my recent locations that I've searched. And as you see, there's the knowledge card that pulls up off to the side. Students can click on that to learn more information about the location they're researching and also different points of interest. So if I come back out though, I can also click on that and kind of page through some different photos that were taken, maybe in the area. So right now I'm in 2D. If I want to use 2D, I can zoom in maybe a little further and I can actually go to Pegman over here on the side, and then it'll illuminate the blue roads, which will allow me then to put Pegman wherever I'd like and kind of see what the area looks like. So now I can go up and down the roads with the arrows, and the students can kind of look at what that particular area looks like. So if I go back out, however, lots of different pictures in the area that have been taken. I can click on, again, some of the images and view some of the different areas. Now, if I want to have students do the randomizer, that's the little dice over here. And this is going to take them somewhere in the world, they don't know where, and it's going to teach them a little bit more information about that location. They can still use all the same features where they can do the roads. So if I clicked on Pegman, and if there were any roads, or if it was a possibility, I might be able to put Pegman down in a certain location. So this one didn't have any roads, but it looked like it had a little spot where there was a place where you could pan around and view that area. So again, they can click on the pictures and they can also read the information off to the side. The last thing I'm going to show you is the Voyager, which is right here. So teachers can look through and pick what they would like the students to kind of do a little bit more research on. It could be pertaining to nature, so maybe it's swamps and wetlands, for instance. And so it's going to show all the different locations that have swamps and wetlands so the students can further explore. So if I click on Start Exploring, I can then at the bottom here pan through. So right now I'm in 1 through 10. I can pan through the different locations and see the different areas around the world that have the wetlands. Now if I wanted to share, I'm gonna pick here where it says share link. And now I'm on my iPad, so I can share to a different device. But I can also copy that link and then put it into a different place. So that is Google Earth. The last thing I wanted to mention is when using Google Earth, it's a good thing to go to this link. So if I click here, this is where you probably should start. If I click here, it gives you a list of various lessons that you can do. So if I go through getting started, it gives you a lot of information. But up here, if I click on resources, now I can do some different searching. So I can search for all tools, and then there's a lot of different things in there. I would just leave it as all tools. I can do different categories. Maybe you are looking for just a Voyager lesson, and then you can, maybe I want to do Google Earth. And so now I've got different activities that I can do. So maybe I want to do explorers. There's actual underwater ones that you could do. And then as Google Earth loads, you'll be able to see that right in Google Earth. And then you can share that with your students.